Welcome back to the channel, guys. The Mosin Dude here. Today we're going to be taking a more in-depth look at my 13.7 build. Before we get too far into the video, we're going to go ahead and safety check it. Make sure there's nothing in the mag. Chamber is clear. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk more about the reasons behind why I wanted to build a 13.7, and then also we're going to go tip to butt and talk about all the parts and everything in between. So I built a 13.7, my final choice, coming from a 16-inch rifle. I also built a 10.5-inch, like Mark 18 kind of clone, and I settled with a 13.7 because I felt that it was the best like middle ground between the two. It was still a short enough barrel where it was maneuverable, but it's also long enough to where it still maintains the ballistics that the 223 is known for out to range. In my last video, you saw me shoot out to 360 yards. It's as far as I can shoot in my local range. I may go up in the National Forest and try to range something out a little further with the steel targets that I have. But at 360 yards, the bullet drops a little bit, but it's still more than capable with this LPVO. So, if you notice, I talked about how this is a 13.7 and it's a rifle. The muzzle device is pin welded into place, and it's permanently attached per the ATF's rules. Now, what is the ATF? The ATF is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and they're the ones who regulate SBRs, suppressors, full automatic rifles, which this is not. This is a semi-automatic, unfortunately. But they regulate SBRs, which I talked about. But an SBR is a short-barreled rifle, which is a rifle that has a buttstock like this, but a barrel shorter than 16 inches. Now, the way I got around building an SBR, like I said, was I permanently attached the muzzle device. So, with that being said, I built a pistol, I built a rifle, and I settled for something in between for the reasons I talked about. I just feel like this is the best route to go for not having to build an SBR, but also it still maintains all the ballistic capabilities of that longer length rifle barrel. So with that being said, let's go ahead and break it down. So I used the Roscoe sauce pack, which is comes with a barrel, the gas tube, gas block, and then the BCG, and that was about $325. All my numbers before we get too deep into it are going to be rough estimates. I went and looked everything up, but I'm just going to round it up to the nearest dollar for the ease of math, and I'll tell you the overall cost of this whole rifle once we get to the end of the video. But you can follow along, do your own math as we get there. So, like I said, Roscoe sauce pack. The next, we're going to talk about the rail. This is the BCM MCMR 13. It's 13-inch rail. With the 13.7, if you want to put a suppressor on the end of the rifle, you have to cut the flanges off of the end of the rail here. The rail on the sides has two little extensions. Instead of being 13 inches all around, it comes out to be 13.4 inches. And basically we just took a Dremel, and I'll show you this in a side video, but basically just took a Dremel and cut those little two flanges off. That way we could mount the suppressor. So the rail is $190. I got the Surefire War Comp because I wanted to go with a Surefire RC2 suppressor. I'm still saving up some money for that. They're a little pricey, especially when you have to pay a $200 tax stamp and ask the government permission. So that gets real pricey, but saving up for that. But I wanted that because this is the mounting device for that suppressor. So this is the one I went with. Surefire makes some good products. Recommend checking out this muzzle device. It's not a muzzle brake, it's a compensator and a muzzle flash hider, It's a flash hider and a compensator built into one. So it helps with recoil, but it also dims the flash as well. And it's pretty effective, I will say. The next on the list is the Odin O-Light. So it comes with the pressure pad, the mount, and the flashlight itself. I actually got this when it was on sale when they first came out. I wanted to do some testing on it. It's a kind of a budget weapons light, if you will. I paid $119 for this, and so far it's been doing pretty good. As you can see, rolling in this footage here, the light is 2,000 lumens. It's pretty bright, lights up the entire hallway. So with that being said, we'll move on to the next part. The Magpul M-Lock vert grip. This is about 22 bucks. I just found this to be the most comfortable. I like to run like a C-clamp, so I can push the pressure pad, but then also have that as like another point of contact to pull the rifle into my body. So I do like a C-clamp on my rifle. Next part we're going to talk about is the upper itself. This is a Radical Firearms upper. Cost about 60 bucks. It's pretty cheap. I typically try to stay away from Radical. When they first came out, they were a pretty rough company, but they've since worked out all the kinks, and I honestly have no complaints with this upper itself. It locks in. There's no wobble whatsoever. I think those guys really kind of got their program figured out over there. So I would recommend them now. I mean, I use it on this rifle, and this is like my go-to rifle, so if that says anything. The next thing we're going to talk about is the offset red dot mount here. It's a T-Rex Arms offset mount. You guys already know what I think about them. Those guys are excellent. This mount locks up really well on this rail, and it was about 80 bucks. Had to wait a little while because it was out of stock for months. I tried to get it when it first came out. I was too late, missed the boat on that one, and then I had to wait probably 4 months until the next cycle came in. I was actually on the email list, and I caught it when it came back into stock. I didn't get the email because I was so far on the wait list, but I caught it before I guess the wait list was emailed. So that was cool. Highly recommend this mount. Locks up super solid, very well built. Then we're going to talk about the red dot that's on top of it. That is the Holosun 407C V2. It's just the red dot. It doesn't have the like EOTech reticle. I didn't want too much going on in my offset mount. I just wanted that red dot for close range engagements, and that's what I went with. So far it's been good. I've only probably put a couple hundred rounds through it, probably 500 or so. I really like the transitioning between the LPVO and the red dot going back and forth. It's pretty smooth, I gotta say. Next, so we'll go ahead and talk about the charging handle that we have here. This is a Radium Raptor LT. That's about 65 bucks, depending where you get it from. It's an ambi charging handle, so you can hit it from either side, so right side, left side, and it locks up really nice. Just super high quality. Radium really has some good products as well. That company is really innovating some good stuff. And that was, like I said, 60 bucks. The LPVO that I keep mentioning is a Primary Arms ACCS 1:8 second focal plane scope and an arrow mount. The scope itself is about 390 bucks. The arrow mount is 72 bucks. I also have the aim assist throw lever on there. That's going to run you about, I think it was 25 bucks off of Amazon. That was the one part I forgot to look up. But the throw lever, you just go from 1 to 8 pretty quick, throwing it like that. So hence the name throw lever. I keep my LPVO on 4 power and then rotate to the 1 power of the red dot. And if I need to crank it up, I can go to 8, but I typically, like I said, just leave it on 4. The Aero Precision mount, like I talked about, is, it is what it is. Mine was FDE. I bought it from a buddy, and I just spray painted it black just to match the rest of the rifle other than the safety selector. The lower is a Anderson lower. I know I'm going to catch some flack for that, but I really don't care. I don't think the lower is super important as far as being like a top of the line Aero, Aero M4 E1 enhanced lower. Like, I don't really care too much for that, so I just went with the cheap lower. This ran me about 50 bucks. Ran me 50 bucks, excuse me. English, right? I got the Magpul bad lever here, as you can see. That was 28 bucks. Just super quick for reloads. Bolt lock back, pop in a new mag, drop that. Instead of going and slapping the side to drop the bolt, you just flick your finger down and pops that BCG home. So highly recommend that. You can knock off a couple milliseconds, not too much, but it is faster than hitting the side of the rifle and then going back. You can load your magazine and go back for a nice grip on the rifle. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Radium 45 degree Selector. These run about 48 bucks, and it's a 45 degree throw. So it's not the full throw of 90, it just goes to 45. You can do the 90, it has the option to do that. You just have to rotate it a little more when you put the retaining pin in, and it'll lock it at 90 instead of 45. So it gives you the option. I think that's excellent that they're giving you the option to do the 45 or 90. But I like the 45 safety selector because it's a lot quicker, and it just seems like your thumb just drops right in on it super quick. So when you come up, drop down, just super quick instead of doing the full 90 throw. So I recommend that just even for quick acquisition on target. So next thing we're going to talk about is the trigger. It is a Hyperfire enhanced duty trigger. This is about $100. It's a single stage trigger, and it's super crisp. So already safety checked the rifle. It's on safe. So you can see the Radium safety selector works. We're gonna drop it. Super crisp. Reset. Nice and audible click. Crisp break. So like I said, single stage. This does have the straight portion, and it also has like the curve. So if you want more leverage, you go to the straight portion. If you want more of a, I forget what exactly they market it for, but it's more of like target shooting. If you want the bow, you got it. If you want the straight trigger, you got that too. So I think that was awesome that they did that. Also, nice innovation. I got the 4.5 pound spring from those guys. So the trigger comes with a 3.5 pound spring, which is green, and the red one is 4.5 pounds. I have the red in here. I wanted something a little heavier, a little more reliable as far as not having light primer strikes and stuff like that. Overall, trigger's been great. I had a couple issues with it to begin with, but that's because I installed it wrong, so go figure. So basically no problems, runs good. And I've had 2 rifles, and my buddy had a rifle that had this trigger in it. And with these 3 rifles, I have over 3,000 rounds experience, probably closer to 4 to 5. That's just a ballpark estimate off the top of my head, but these triggers really have had no issues. If you install them right, they're going to run, do exactly what they're supposed to do. So the last thing we're going to talk about is the B5 system stock. I didn't go with the storage compartments because I felt that was kind of unnecessary. Kind of defeats the purpose of having a lightweight rifle, and having those storage makes it more bulky as well. So I went with the B5 system stock. This one runs about $58. Super slim. And the butt portion, super grippy, grips a hold of you, and just solid, locks in place, nothing, the rattles the magazine that you're hearing, locks in place, no issues. So highly recommend this stock. It's a little heavy, I will say, but it's not as heavy as having the SOP mod enhanced that they offer, that has the storage on both sides. Like I said, I didn't feel the need to store batteries or anything like that. If I want to store anything, it would be in the grip itself, which is actually the last thing we're going to talk about. This is the Magpul MOE grip. These run about $18. I would probably recommend going with something a little more upright. If you have wrist issues, mine's fine, tuck it in here, but something a little more vertical would be nice, like the K2 grip that Magpul offers. Alright guys, so we've talked about everything that I've done to the rifle. Just one thing that I would change, and that's going to be the buffer system. I have just a El Cheapo buffer system in it right now, and I think what I'm going to do is get a Geisley braided buffer spring, and then also the H1 buffer. I believe that's, from my research, is what you use for a suppressor. Correct me guys in the comment section below if I'm wrong. I think the H1's for suppressors, H2 is what everybody runs, and then the H3 is for like full auto and stuff like that. So with that being said, how much did I spend on this rifle total? If you guys were keeping up with the price, you probably got somewhere around $1,990. The exact total is a little more than that with taxes, and what I charged for the service, or excuse me, what I was charged for the service of pin and welding. So the total came out to be about $2,300. So you can save some money if you go with a Aimpoint T1 knockoff like the Holosun. I believe it's the 503. So you can save like $600 if you just go with that, and then you take the flashlight as well. You're saving about $600. So right there, you're looking at about 14, all said and done, which is still not bad for a very accurate rifle that's short and compact. With that being said, guys, let me know down in the comment section below what you would do differently if you would go with a 13.7 or if you would build a pistol or rifle. I'd be interested to see what you guys think. of this build and have some discussion with you guys in the comment section below. Guys, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that to help build the community here on my channel and help expound to a further audience as well. So with that being said, guys, always remember where you came from. Stay humble. It's been the Mosin Dude, and we'll see you on the next video.